think we're just about through this tape. What are we going to rejoice about at 6:30? Let's rejoice about our spiritual wealth. It's at 6:30 p.m. on April 29th, 2008, Anno Domini. What shall we rejoice about? Let's rejoice for public access. An electronic soapbox where you and I can talk things over and we're not told or paid what to say and what not to say. We tell the truth. I want to talk to David Barnes, who is some kind of a program coordinator for public access in Prince George's County, Maryland, contiguous to the District of Columbia. He has exercised editorial control, or tried to, over at Chatwood Glendora 3 times, if not more. I think the first he said that Glendora could not put titles on the screen while the program was being played. In other words, and I will, when I put this to make a master of it, I will, and then compart it into 29-minute shows, I will put the titles on there, and you will see them being written. And he says you can't do that. That is editorial control. Because Glendora started in television before David Barnes was born in 1954, and there was no tape. There was no syndication. There were no movies. There was nothing. Everything was live. And what you said on the television was heard instantly. Whether it was good or bad, it was heard, and you didn't get it back again. So a Chat with Glendora has always had this live flavor, and it always will. The Chat with Glendora is a slice of life. There's nothing artificial about it. It's straight from the shoulder. It's honest, it's truthful, and it is the way things are. All right, now, David, that was one editorial control. Another was, just a second. Oh, yes. I talk to people over the phone, as you just heard. And their conversations are very interesting. They are reflections of God's creation. They're valuable. And I play these conversations over the phone for you. Particularly, I'll take one joke and I'll tell it to person 1, person 2, person 3, and hear all the variations in the laughter. That's extremely interesting. And it's funny in itself. David Barnes says you can't do that. He worked for a radio station once, and you weren't allowed to do that. You weren't allowed to produce anybody's conversation over the phone. Well, that may be in radio, but that is not so in public access. What's your statutory authority, Mr. David Barnes? Produce it. Now, his most recent censorship and editorial control, which is totally, absolutely, categorically, downright forbidden in public access. Nobody can exercise editorial control over public access. It is what it says. It's the public's access to TV. If I go to the park and I want to talk to you, nobody can tell me what I can say and what I can't say. Unless, of course, some speech is not constitutionally protected. Obscenity, libel, and so forth. But you don't have to worry about that. Here. So his third offense against editorial control, Mr. David Barnes of Prince George's County Community TV, Maryland, is saying they don't want to play Chatwell Glendora anymore because it isn't local enough. Woo! Woo! Depravity in the courts of the United States isn't local enough? Okay. He said that in the middle of a month's events that I had videotaped and was about to put the titles on and was about to compart into 29-minute programs. The process was on its way. So, Mr. David Barnes, the 4 programs that I sent you made for the events of March to be cable cast in April. Okay. I think the first 3 were about a local Prince George's resident. His name is God. Now, I may be wrong. Maybe God doesn't live in Prince George's County, Maryland. And the 4th program was about George McDermott, who does live in Prince George, Maryland. 6 o'clock, we rejoice for projects. I'm done with. I cannot understand how could you be so different than what you saw. You are president of the Friends of the Manchester, Connecticut Library. You were delighted that we were having a program TV on it. It was such a good program. So hard on it. I daughters, myself, and Lowell Martin, who lives right next to Manchester, to be a friend of Connecticut Public Library. It double crossed me as nobody could do more so. You just know. I still have another tape of yours, another half hour. Your first half hour, you came across as a real person. And then you went and did that abominable thing. You didn't finish your job, which was to take the completed tape over to Lori Badanani at Cox Cable in Manchester, New Hampshire, Manchester, Connecticut. I wish you were like Manchester, man. Manchester, they really know how to do public access. None of this foolish stuff about having a local resident is totally illegal anyhow. And it's just a screening device to make you work like not have to have so many shows to anti the public's right, the public's access to TV. And they let you have 4-hour programs in Manchester, New Hampshire on the same VHS or on the same DVD. They know how to handle it. You don't have deep Cox. You Cox with your deep pockets. You don't have deep. You're still on VHS. I just don't know how you could do that, Gil Dunowitz. And you did it without any notice to me, or any explanation, or any honesty, or any integrity. Okay, that's Gil Dunowitz and David Burns. St. Paul, in Philippians 4:11. I have learned, in what I am, to be content. That does include the state of Connecticut. It does not include the state of Maryland. For the announcements, I will do everything I can to help you with your announcement. But it takes me a month to get them on the TV. I want to thank you in Rye, New York, for sending back my tapes and my DVDs. They've been chat with all these years. I want to thank him for his civility. He has a much, I know the word for it, just a second. Complex. He seems to have all of the requirements. He seems to have of mind and elegance of character. I've been him over the years. He's at Brooklyn Community Access TV. Oh, match let me with thee in lowly past of service free. This is lowly past. This is the lowest of them all. Public access and so you can't read in it. It's all going through. Teach me thy secret help there. The strain of stress, the fret of here. Some verse of that is much better. Teach me one with thee in dear symphony, in work that keeps faith sweet and strong, in trust that triumph over wrong. Over 2 years ago. Yeah. 2006. I sued him 3 times. What did I sue him for, folks? Lying, stealing, and cheating. As the Attorney General of the State of New York, he is New York State's sued several crooked, corrupt, thieving, stealing, lying people who work for the state of New York. So he appears as a defense lawyer. And the papers his underlings put out under his name are acceptable. And after 5 or 6 of these, that was in 2006. In 2004 and 2003, other assistants to the Attorney General committed cheat, and I didn't sue them. And look, I'm bringing it up. It's 6:55 p.m. Look at this cat. Good shot. Good picture, photographer, whoever did it. Oh, what a great dog. He's are superb. Sweetie. Yeah. I find out who's sending pictures of your doggies and your kitties. Too bad. Carl and Cicero, Americans for Legal Reform in Long Island, Suffolk County. He wants you to watch out for. Let me show you if you want to get in touch with the association. They meet in the, I think it's the Page Library. There's her number. There's her address. Here's the schedule. See if there's any. Yeah. Look. Plainview Old Pay. How to hire and fire a lawyer. Constitution and ethics. And here's the people he wants you to watch out for. Piece. This organization is almost too good to be true. What do you about it? Call. PETA. Ethical treatment of animals. Oh, I wish that were true. I wish that were true. I wish it were true. Anyway, I keep saying the truth out, but there it is, Peter. people for the ethical treatment of animals. Have you heard? Now you know he was the saint who was so good to animals and so many. Remember? And his famous hymn is, "All creatures of our God and King." Okay. So, some more lyrics to it. All creatures of our God and King, lift up your hearts and live. Stop the cruel, just be kind. All cows and pigs, leave them alone. Those hens and turkeys do. For the fish, oh, save them. Oh, just be kind. One with God. No, try again. Help the dogs and help the cats. Protect the deer and little feed my Bambi. Feed the animals. Share with them your goods. Just become. Stop the cruel. One with God. Hallelujah. Finish him. He is love. He has shown us by his life that he is love. All his people with one of joy. Jesus Christ is love. Yeah? What's this? They used to have them $500 and then there for reasons against it for their own benefit. Those in the government for $500 bill. They used to have it on a TV show, a game show. Do you remember that? I'm not going to say anything about that. I want you to vote. Mary Rammies, thank you so much for your report. And your time. Cablevision, Mohegan Lake, Mary Lamb. They've done it again. Some of the papers, they've lost them or something. They haven't got to work. And so they have in cablecast a chat with Glendora over Yorktown. And you don't need a signer in Yorktown because it's all. And so Cross River has a signer, and Cross River is playing, but not Yorktown. We are at the entrance. On the floor. The cat that Diane Bennett sent me. One cat. What cat? This is We Public Access Producers with the world on our shoulders. Atlas and also Hercules. This is I'm in love with a dog door. She's in the window of a big department store. Eyes are blue and gold, but she never knows. Oh, Glendora. I want to see you. Oh, I have to play that song for you. I have the recording down in 1956, I believe. Have you any announcements? I would like to do what Keith Gumbel is doing for thousands, and that's a relationship with God. This means everything to you. I want to see you happy. As long as I'm happy. When anything, I want to see you happy. And I want to work with you on it. And I know your happiness comes with relationship with God. Your right relationship comes with the time that you spend with God. And a great deal of time. But I tell you, Jesus Christ will right. Seek ye first the kingdom of God will follow. Understand that. Everything that you want in life will come to you as soon as you seek first the kingdom of God. Get up in the morning at least 15 minutes before you usually get up. Read God, read the meditation, sing a hymn, say a prayer, throughout the day. And how 15 blessings. the spring, the new tender green leaves, forsythia, tulips, the magnolias. 15 blocks every hour, and every 15 minutes rejoice on something. Now, Nicky Gumbel says a prayer. A very simple Nicky Gumbel. He's a Christian. And he hated Christian in the beginning. So these talking tapes. They come from, apparently he has a Wednesday night meeting at church. And he packs it. And this is one of these old Henry VIII Anglican churches. Balconies upon balconies. And he packs it full. And the nice thing about the videotapes is that they take extreme close-ups of the faces of the people listening. And they're young faces, like you. They're young faces. And you can just see them thirsting. How to find that relationship with God. Why not? God has all the money. God has all the power. God has everything that you want. God has the health, the functioning. Why not? Thirst after. So apparently they come Wednesday night, and then they go off into the country on a weekend and have weekend talks. There are 15 talks. He's thin. He's in good shape. I wonder if he's a vegetarian or vegan. There are a lot of them in Great Britain. In fact, the insurance companies in Great Britain give the vegetarians a special premium because they're healthier and they last longer. See, you're not meant to be a carnivore. You don't have the teeth for it. Okay? You're a primate. Face it, you're a primate. You should be eating bananas and coconuts. So about Nicky Gumbel and these weekend sessions. Well, apparently they're in thousands. The Alpha Course, it's called, is in thousands of churches around the world. And I would like to play it for you. But they get a copyright on it. I don't understand that, Nicky Gumbel. Why are you so protective with this copyright and a penalty if you copy it and reproduce it? Why is that? Don't you want people to have a relationship with God? Don't you want them to have that ebullience, that happiness? Why have you got this stiff copyright on it? Supposing Jesus Christ said, you can't say the Sermon on the Mount unless you have my permission in writing. Supposing Moses has said that. Supposing the whole Bible said that. You can't say it unless you have my permission in writing. Now that's not true, Nicky Gumbel. You should let this go out everywhere and let people reproduce it and hand it to other people. I don't know, Nicky Gumbel. You're a former lawyer. I smell something malodorous there. So I can't play it for you in his words, and he's so good, he's such a great presenter. I can't do that because they have their phalanges into it, and they're not going to release it. They're so tenacious. So supposing everything in the Bible, we couldn't pass it on to you, what's in the Bible. No, because it's copyrighted. Okay, what else do I have to tell you about Nicky Gumbel? They have Alpha USA, and it was down at 74 Trinity Place in Manhattan. But they moved. They moved to Chicago. Why? We got a new director, and he's from Chicago. And he tells the best jokes. It's a funny thing. A long time ago, God told me to combine jokes with the seriousness of the court reporting, what the depravity in the courts and the total ruinization of the courts. and that, as bad as it was, to always have jokes. It's funny. He told Nicky Gumbel the same thing. Nicky Gumbel's jokes are superb. Well, I can find a way around this, folks. You can't stop me from telling you what he said in my own words. You can't do that. So, here's what I think I'll do. I think I will take one of his phrases that I've heard him say, and I'll tell it to you, and then you and I can discuss it, right? And bring it closer to you. All right. Is this everything? Remember, I'll help you every way I can. Let's talk over some words with you. It's 7:12 p.m. Acquiesce. It means to accept or comply tacitly or passively, but not with consent or agreement. Now, the courts use that word very loosely. If you acquiesce, you said you have consented and you have agreed. But it's not so. You have accepted or complied tacitly or passively. It's a good word, isn't it, folks? Acknowledge. Acknowledge is to own with gratitude as a benefit or imposing obligation, or to make public one's knowledge of something, to admit, avow, confess, or own up to it. Apply that to yourself and God. Someday, I want to hear you acknowledge and own up with gratitude in your heart the benefits that God has given you, or the imposing obligations that God has given you, or to make public your knowledge of God, to admit, to avow, to confess, and to own up to God. An acolyte, 1C, is an assistant. Someday you will be an assistant to God. Acquirement. Ooh, this is good for you. Personal qualities or resources that you achieved by endeavor. And when you spend your alone time with God the first thing in the morning, and have your retreats in the evening, you will have those personal qualities and resources that you have achieved by endeavor. Your endeavor, spending your time with God. Acquisitive. Charles Dolan, James Dolan. Greedy, grasping. Acquit, to set free or discharge from an accusation, obligation, or burden. Go with God, and you'll be acquitted of burdens, accusations, and obligations. You will be free. Acquittal. A settling, I guess. I guess what it's saying is a setting aside, a setting free by legal process from the charge of an offense. That's another thing when you have your relationship with God. You get rid of that guilt. As Nicky Gumbel says, so you've lived your life, you've done this wrong, you've done that wrong, you've done that wrong. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? There's always a fresh start. You can always start over again. Acrid. Pungent, bitterly irritating to the feelings. Of caustic temper. That was a chat with Glendora for 20 years as to the cheating, lying, and stealing of judges, lawyers, and clerks. Acrimony. Caustic, biting, corrosive speech. Asperity. Irritability and resentfulness of disposition, quick to display itself in words. That was George Dixon, a judge in the village court of Chatham. Acerbity characterizes the utterances of one who is sour and embittered, or, as it were, set on edge. Have you known a few people like that? Tartness. Acidity of speech or temper, but often of a somewhat piquant character. What does piquant mean? An acre. 4,840 square yards. Remember that. An acre is about 5,000 square yards, and it's about 44,000 square feet. I got to tell you about this book. This book was written by this woman.